All right, welcome back to the Swansea View. And it seems months and months ago that Duff was sacked. However, we are finally at the news announcement of Luke Williams as the new Swansea head coach. We're going to digest all of that and predict what sort of changes in style and formation and tactics and personnel we might see. And we're going to do that with Richard and James, as usual. Good evening to you both. How are you?
Very good, thanks, Mark. All good.
Good stuff. Let's start with you then, Richard. How's the news gone down at the terraces?
Well, finally, we've got a manager. Was it 32 days in the end? Why me? Everybody else you see around you picking up their bosses after people being sacked, moved on. But let's be fair, it's the January window. We need to start pushing on now, and we finally got our guy. So Luke Williams, yes, I think it's a good appointment.
What do we know about him, Richard? Because forgive us, neutrals and non-Swansea followers who, would go who. Explain in layman's terms what his connection to Swansea is and
Right.
how he's been appointed.
So Luke Williams was Russell Martin's assistant head coach when Russell Martin first came to the club. So he was with him at MK Dons. And then he was at the club, I think, for about 6 months before he got offered the manager's position at Notts County. So he went down to the non-leagues to be the number one down Notts County. Took him from he was the non-league into League Two last season. So they were second to Wrexham, and they took him all the way, and they broke a few records at the same time. In goal scoring records, points records, and a long unbeaten run. So he'd done a pretty good job with some very good attacking football. So this season he's taken them into the top six. So they're in the playoff mix, looking to get promoted to League One. So the Swans have come in. And I don't think he was first choice by any means. We've all heard about Chris Davis, but his name keeps coming back up, and he really impressed the board.
James, what's your view on it?
Pretty much the same. I think he's the man that we should have had in the summer. Really, he's got the obvious connection with the club. Obviously, everything he knows about football, he's got through Russell Martin. You can see the identity that he put in at Notts County as well. And it just feels like a sort of point when we should have gone for in the summer. I'm quite excited because I think he is definitely going to bring goals. Yeah, I mean, if you have a record-breaking season with Notts County, the amount of goals they scored. My only concern is goals conceded. It's very, very similar to what Russell Martin was like. They're very open and expansive, and they've had a few clangers this season in League Two. I've seen a couple of them. So hopefully you can tighten the defence up a little bit. But from what I've seen of them and looking at their record with guaranteed goals, which is, it's going to be exciting.
Can I ask you both that to score goals, you need a striker who can score them. Who is it you're referring to when you both talk about all these goals? Presumably, you're talking about Langstaff coming with him from Notts County. Is that right?
I think he's ruled that one out already. Yeah, I think he said he wants him to remain at Notts County and take them up. So it's interesting, but I think it's tongue in cheek. Really, he's going to cost a bit of money, even if he did want him. I think in his ranks. So I think priorities for the Swans. Yes, you'd like the striker, but we need to get the creative players into. We are lacking pace. I think that is our big issue. We need wingers. We need someone to beat a man, get past it. When we're still looking to utilise Yannick Bolasie off the bench or to have so many minutes there, it's clutching straws a bit now. It's the January window. We need him to get out there now, bring in some quality pacey men. We want the new Routledge and Dyer. We want to bring in, excite the fans, create the chances. And, all fairness to Jerry Yates, he's got 7 goals up front this season, but he doesn't really get great service. You got to be frustrated there. And I think seeing an attacking manager come in will make him feel better, but he does need a bit of help.
What did we learn about the Morecambe game, James? I mean, we were told it was his first game in charge, and it's a different opposition, isn't it? It's not a championship opposition; it's an FA Cup game, so it's not exactly the full squad he's going to pick against Birmingham. But what did you learn?
Um, we definitely looked a little bit sharper in the second half of the game. I remember he said something to Sam Parker, who's our probably one of our latest academy products that's come through now, that he wanted to see him putting the ball in the box a little bit more. And he seemed to do that. He seemed to have a bit more of a license to go forwards. I think you can definitely see he's going to try and go on the front foot. The team itself was actually picked by Alan Sheehan by his own admission. After the games, he said that Alan pretty much did all the preparation before he came in, so it was his side that he picked, and he trusted him to do it. But I think you could definitely see as the game went on, we were trying to be on the little bit more on the front foot. And I'm hoping, like I said, because Jerry Yates is getting a bit of a bad rap at the moment amongst our fans. And I think Richard's right there. It's just the service. He's literally scored 7 goals. He's feeding off scraps. And you look at last season, 14 goals in a Blackpool side, which finished comfortably in the relegation places. You know, you're not a bad player. If you can do that in a Blackpool side, if you give him some decent service around him, I think you'll definitely get well into double figures this season.
Still 3 shots on target all game at home against Morecambe still isn't. It's not great, is it? Okay, Richard, your owners have talked about the importance of the Swansea way and the next manager understanding the club. I think that comes in spades, doesn't it? With Luke Williams, he certainly gets what Swansea need. So the connection that we've spoken about time and time again on this channel about Duff is not going to be an issue, is it, this time around?
No, he's a likable chap as well. He comes across as a friendly sort of character, but also he knows his stuff. I've only seen a little bit of him in the press conference the other day, and he's quoting statistics and sort of your XGs and things like that. And it's just, you can see he knows what he's looking to do and implement. And he wasn't afraid to say straight away and say, do you know what? We weren't good enough against Morecambe. This is good. We won the game, but we got to be creating more chances and we got to be a bit more ruthless in that final third. Is it interesting? Really, he wants to see Charlie Patino higher up. He brought that out and he said, you know what? Half time, I told him that I don't want you sitting back deeper. I want you getting closer. You're on my attacking midfield. You should be having shots and scoring goals. So he's looking to bring these little things in already. He's been there a day. He could have easily sat that one out and just gone in the stands. But no, he said, right, I want to be on the pitch and I want to be in the middle in the mix. So I think, he will connect. The fans will like him because you put his heart on his sleeve. You'll put everything out there. And I think when we win, you'll see it very much in the style of Russell Martin when he was here, where he's very connected with all the people around him. He understands that Swansea isn't a club which, you have people from all over West Wales supporting Swansea. This is a massive club in South Wales, So you got to understand that when we win, there's a lot of people going to work sort of really, really happy. When we lose, everybody's sad. It's just such a big hub of the community.
Yeah. James, it goes without saying that a quick start is going to be needed here. Do you worry looking at your next 6 fixtures that potentially you're not going to get that new manager bounce? I mean, your first one is against a Birmingham side that's just appointed a new manager, and then you've got Southampton, Leicester, although it might be rearranged now, and Leeds all before Valentine's Day, plus a tricky trip away to Hull. The fixtures haven't fallen kindly.
No, not at all. I mean, the main thing for me is, can we make a better account of ourselves? Because the performances up to Duff sacking and in the immediate aftermath of it personally weren't good enough. I mean, going to Southampton and shipping 5 goals was horrific. So I'm just hoping we see a bit more character from the side as well, because like I said, there was a few results where it just looked like we were devoid of a plan. So hopefully now Williams can sort of get the group back together. And maybe we can get, Leeds are coming down here. There's a chance of getting something at home. I'd like to think that maybe with the fans backing us, with that little bit of a manager bounce now, and hopefully Williams making the fans feel more connected to the club, maybe we can make it a little bit more hostile here and maybe get set up the Southampton game. Maybe I'm being optimistic, but I think all that counts really. And I think Southampton's run's going to end somewhere, and it'd be a fitting place for it to end at home down here. So,
my gosh, you'll hear the noise all the way from South Wales, won't you? If you manage to beat Southampton and end Russell Martin's run. All right, let's talk about transfers then. Let's talk about the rumours first, Richard, and then we'll come to you, James, for what you think he actually needs to get. Richard, what have we heard? I mean, obviously there's rumours every day with every single club, but anything confirmed, any ins or outs that you can tell us about?
It's very quiet at the moment. I think that suits us down to the ground, really, because the way we will work will be on a smaller budget, and we'll be looking to bring in somebody who's going to be, it'll have to be a good fit, and it's going to have to be a cheap fit. So perhaps I think from abroad, I think with a winger, uh, I think there was someone linked from France. I think one of the French teams, like a quite a pacey winger. So that sort of half came out in the conference, but because Williams has only been here a couple of days, I don't think he would have had too much say. But the way we work really as a club is that they'll have targets already in mind as a club. You know, they've probably been scouted in for some time. So nothing concrete as such, but I would expect to see names crop up as the weeks go by now. But, well, probably I say weeks. I'd say the end of this week now. I'll probably know a bit more by Thursday, Friday when they start talking in the conference now.
James, what does he need in terms of positions, and who stood out for you in this interim period as someone who perhaps didn't shine under Duff and has actually taken their opportunity?
In terms of what we need, I definitely think pace, out and out pace is something we need. I know Richard was just saying now we were linked with Romain Mundle, who's an ex-Tottenham academy player, I think it's with Standard Liège, I think he's with at the moment. Another player we were linked with a couple of months back was Corey Blackett-Taylor from Charlton, so really pacey wing. I think he's 25 years old. He's having a good season with Charlton at the moment as well. So if we could get two players like that, and I don't think they'd cost much, especially with Blackett-Taylor being the last 6 months of his contract as well. So it kind of suits us down to the ground. And for me, I think the one who I would say stood out for me is probably Ben Cabango. He's come in for a bit of a criticism this season, but in the last couple of games, he's actually really started to come back into his own a little bit. He's looking a bit more solid now. He's getting some real harsh criticism of our fans, but I think he's now starting to, you can see that the confidence is coming back there again.
Okay. All right. Final question then to you both. 16th in the table. Where are your relegation fears? Have they gone, or do you still watch out for QPR and Rotherham's results and have a little smile when you hear they've lost, or are you not bothered anymore? Do you?
I think really you look at new manager syndromes, and Sheffield Wednesday, they're picking up results recently as well. You know, they give our friends Cardiff a bit of a hiding on the weekend. Just got to bring that one up, and we. But no, they've started to get points, and as will QPR and Rotherham as well. You know, as the season goes on, backs against the wall. So I think a couple of wins now after this perhaps hard spell. Maybe I think there's a Plymouth home game in there. If we can get a win at Birmingham, you'll start looking up rather than looking down. But I think realistically, we got to be looking for a mid-table finish this season. You know, if you can break that top 12, brilliant. I think that would be a success, and then look to build on it next year. But they haven't quite got the squad to really do it at the minute. We need some more players, and you've got to remember we got some of the starters in there, like Carl Rushworth, for example. Now all plays on loan. You know, it's Patino. You could argue the seasons we've had, the last few, we've had our own players which have been sold on, and they haven't been replaced properly yet. So I think there's a lot of work to be done. But the signs are there. You know, I think we've got the players as a base, but we just need to build on it.
Okay. James, would you take 16th place now?
I'd probably say try to aim a little bit higher. I'd say between 14th to 10th, maybe. I think we're capable of finishing. There is one concern I do have, though, and it's not so much relegation. I don't know whether Richard will agree on this one, though, but it's who's making the decisions behind the scenes, namely our sporting director. The mess that we're in at the moment is because of his recruitment and his appointment of Michael Duff. I really don't think that the person making the footballing decisions behind Luke Williams is the man for the job. I think a lot of our fans were calling it the Luton 2.0 experiment, and I think we can firmly say it's failed. And Paul Watson is the man whose shoulders this should all be firmly pinned on. Look at some of the players he brought in the summer. We paid close to £1 million for Christian Pedersen. We brought in Choa on, who nobody really knows much about. We brought in a sort of a Route 1 striker in Kuharovic, who's been plagued with injuries. and we basically went for a win at all costs manager, Michael Duff. Now, my concern is Paul Watson going to be the right man to get people in for Luke Williams? That's my concern. Are we going to see a repeat of what happened with Russell Martin last year?
Richard?
Well, it's hard to say, really. The Duff thing didn't work, did it? Let's be fair. It was, I don't know, his records of getting teams promoted and working on the shoestring, I think it was what attracted the club to bringing him in. And I think that's the initial reasons they went from that way. Transfer-wise, some of them have worked, some of them haven't. Yes, I do get Kukrevich. He hadn't been on the pitch 2 minutes, really. Left us with one striker. But then again, you could look at people like Jamal Lowe coming back on, loan, but he's loaned to sign. He's out of contract, probably come in. That's a tidy little buy there. Patino, he's been in and out, but I still think he's strong loan signing. Harrison Ashby had a lot of potential, but hasn't quite worked out. But I like Josh Key. I think he's a brilliant player. Some have worked, some haven't, but I think you can say that with any club, can you? When you're working with small numbers, and Jerry Yates, the big signing, really, that he's got 7 goals, but like we've already talked about, starved of service. So
Yeah,
behind the scenes, I think no one really knows what's going on with that one, and you've got to remember they've only been there a short spell of time as well. That, and we had a new chairman in the summer too, so everyone's kind of learning, but you don't have time to learn in football. You've got to learn quick. So I'd like to think that they have the best interests at heart, and I'd like to see that they made a mistake, hands up, and hopefully this is the right appointment, and we're all together as one to go forward. I think we will have a better second part of the season than we did first.
Yeah, you both have alluded to the fan base and how it's felt going to Swansea games under Duff. And as an Everton fan, I know exactly how you feel, because our fan base has been split with when Benitez was manager, and it does become toxic and lethargy sets in, as James has been talking about. Is that what's needed now, that we can park the last sort of 5 months and everyone can come together and get behind Williams, and going to watching home games can be enjoyable again? Because as much as the football hasn't been that bad, it just hasn't felt like a together club, has it, for a while? James, would you say?
no, it definitely hasn't. I mean, like, there's people who I know that were traipsing all over the country back in the early 2000s, going to like Kidderminster away and Boston away, who were saying that they weren't going to renew if it carried on. And for them to be saying that, it's like, these are guys who've literally watched us get battered away on like Tuesday nights against teams that don't even exist anymore. For them to be saying that they're sick and tired of going to games and they don't enjoy it anymore, I mean, that's really telling. And these are like staunch supporters. We even like, when you look back at what was happening last season, they were like, you know what, it's not that bad. And then this season, they're like, actually, do you know what, this doesn't look good. This looks like a real sharp decline. Hopefully people will get behind Luke Williams and we can make it a better atmosphere down there, because it has been really sort of, I'd just say, dead this season, really. We talked about it before. I wouldn't really say it was toxic. I would say it was just more dead. There was just like all the care had been sucked out of it, really. So hopefully, people can get behind Williams and they can back him and back the players, because that's what we need right now. What I will caveat that with to say is that they still need to look at what has been going on behind the scenes, because I'm not confident that 32 days to appoint a manager, and appointing Duff in the beginning, to me, doesn't seem like they fully know what they're doing behind the scenes. If I'm being really honest, it does feel like rinse and repeat. I do feel for Andy Coleman. I do think he has the best interests at heart, but I did see something the other day from a Luton podcast, and one of our fans actually asked them, to what extent did Paul Watson have to do with your recruitment at Luton Town? And they turned around and said, little to nothing. He was a premises manager and apparently a player liaison officer. So to go from that to a director of football, that's a massive step up. So that does concern me a little bit at the moment.
Thanks, James. Birmingham then away. I suppose 2 weeks ago this looked a nice easy away fixture for you, didn't it?
Yeah.
Mowbray appointed today instead of Rooney just makes the job a little bit harder, doesn't it?
Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah, and only one more week. Yeah, no. Predictions for that game. I mean, God, two teams you're not going to know who the starting 11 is and what sort of systems they've got. Richard, you can go first.
Right. Well, two teams, brand new managers, both making their league bows. It's going to be a tough one, isn't it? I think it could be a case of who strikes first on the day, and they got that burly striker Jukovic. He always scores. Seems to get one in these kind of games, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I think a point, probably 1-1. I think, and that not just don't lose the game. I think it'd be a big factor for Williams in his first one. Yeah, I think so. 1-0.
Okay, cool. James.
I'm going to go with the 2-1 win. I just got a feeling that the new manager bounce is really going to get the players going. I think we might see a little bit more Charlie Patino and Jerry Yates in this next game. I will say, though, probably Scott Hogan is going to score against us because he's a bogey player. That's
Him
every
as
time
well,
we
yeah.
play Birmingham, Scott Hogan always scores. So you can put some money on that one as well.
Right. All right. Thank you very much, both of you. Enjoy the trip to St Andrews, and we'll catch up with one or both of you next week. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you.